This is the second lab for MEC 140, Introduction to Robotics. And what we have here is a potentiometer controlling the blinking LED. And a potentiometer, which is the blue feature on this board, is just a voltage divider which can be adjusted to change the amount of resistance and the amount of voltage that's going through. And as I adjust it, you can see that the LED blinks at different rates according to how this potentiometer is turned. And on this circuit you can see we have the potentiometer, which goes back to an analog input, and we have to use analog for this particular lab because it's an adjustable voltage rather than just an on-off voltage. And this is the program for the Arduino software. Up in the top we designate some variables, which is right here, and we come down and we designate one pin to be the output pin, and further down we have the different lines of code which essentially tell the computer and the Arduino that as the voltage changes from the potentiometer to vary the output of the LED and in effect to blink it. This is part 2 of lab number 2 for MEC 140. Right now what we have is a serial program that is measuring the voltage that is being generated through the position of the potentiometer. It's the same setup as part 1 with the subtraction of the LED light. However, we still have the potentiometer hooked up to an input, and as I turn the potentiometer I am changing the voltage. And using the Arduino software, you can see the program that is written. We have the serial compiler, which will go through and take the input, and using the serial print will print out the value. And as you can see in this program, normally the value would run from 0 to 1023. However, I added a division operation in there to change it into volts. So you can see in this output right here, this is showing the voltage, and as I turn the potentiometer, you can see how the voltage is affected. It's going up, and once I reach the maximum at 5 volts, and as I turn it down, it will turn all the way down and come all the way down to 0 volts. This is part 3, objective A for MEC 140. In this part of the lab, we are using a VEX Robotics switch to control the LED, and this is wired through the Arduino, and it's not wired in the electrical sense of a switch. It's actually wired in the sense of the programming. So when I close the switch, it will send an input to the Arduino, which will be converted to an output to turn on the LED. And as you can see, when I turn on the switch, the LED comes on. And here's a look at the program. And it's a pretty simple program. We define a couple of variables in the top. We have the 0 pin as the input, 12 will be the output. And just in the beginning of the programs, to make sure that the LED is off, we have that digital write 12 low. And on this very simple loop, we have digital write, which will control the LED, which is pin 12, and that is based off of the input, which is digital read 0. And the exclamation point is there just to negate the original program. If I didn't have that, the LED would be opposite, it would be on, and when I hit the switch it would be off. But with that, The switch is off and comes on when I press the switch down. This is objective number 3, part B, for the second Arduino lab. In this part of the lab we have another potentiometer, but this is a VEX potentiometer which is wired into an analog input on the Arduino, and we're using the serial print from the Arduino program to print off values on the table. And as I adjust the potentiometer, you'll see the values change. So as you can see, change in the position of the potentiometer, which changes the output on the Arduino. And you can go all the way, turn it all the way up, and turn it all the way down, and that's varying the voltage from 0 volts to 5 volts on the Arduino board. This is objective 3, part letter C, for the second Arduino lab. And what we have here is a light sensor which is hooked up in a similar manner as potentiometer was, going into an analog input on the Arduino, and we're using the Arduino program to print off a value based off of what the light sensor is reading. Right now the light sensor is reading pretty much full light, and as I cover the light sensor you can see how the values drop and become pretty low, and that's about as low as I can get it, which is about 400, which is completely blocked right now. And once I take my finger off, you'll see that it comes back to full. And this concludes lab number 2 for MEC 140.